the American Constitutional Republic. Affairs of state in Oklahoma. The beliefs, principles, opinions, and views of people just like me. This is 3D Politics. Here we are again with perspicuous splendor of conversation. I am the VerbalViking, TomEMcCay. Make sure and tune in with me every Monday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here live on Facebook. We bring you all of the Oklahoma political intellectuals and an American community of the culturally pertinent live on Facebook every Monday night. Last week, I want to thank Kevin and Janelle Batts from Red River TV, project46.com, hard-hitting journalism, no room for jokes last week. But thank you once again, Kevin and Janelle Batts, always hard-hitting journalism from Red River TV, project46.com. Also, put on your calendar for next Monday, 1 week from tonight, I've got Dr. Mark Sherwood, who is a candidate for governor here in Oklahoma. Dr. Mark Sherwood will be joining 3D Politics next Monday at 7 p.m. Tune in for another gubernatorial candidate right here on 3D Politics. Also, December 10th, Boots and Bling event, 6 to 8 p.m. Go to the OKGOP for tickets. It's going to be held at the Redneck Yacht Club in Oklahoma City. That's December 10th, Boots and Bling event. So those are a couple of things to look forward to. Also, I want to tell you the guy we got on the show tonight is speaking at the Boots and Bling event on December 10th. We've got him here tonight, Frank Urbanic, and he is going up against Goliath of OKC. Frank Urbanic versus Goliath of Oklahoma City, and we're going to bring him in. Let me tell you a little bit of what we're going to talk about first. He's going to finish off whatever happened with the update of the court case versus Mayor DavidHolt in Oklahoma City. We're going to talk a little bit about criminal justice reform efforts by Urbanic in Oklahoma City, Trumpism in Oklahoma City, and wasteful spending. And I want to tie in what a model city program is and how Holt has used that same model for his maps concepts that I'm sure Urbanic will fill us in on. And then also Black Lives Matter symbolism. And I see now I have a typo in that effort there. Also, one quick thing, the Urbanic has a quote from the press release. As mayor, I won't shut down your business. I'll respect your rights and freedoms as a citizen of our great city. Also, DavidHolt has appeared on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives with Guy Ferrari, and a performance with the Flaming Lips, and on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. So first of all, let's see if we can find, let's see if we have got radio. First of all, we'll see if we can get Frank Urbanic by radio. Are you there, Frank?
I'm here.
There he is. We're going to beam you in. See if we can get him to bring himself in. Ask to start video. Let's see if it works. Wow, Scotty, way to go. How about that? All that production value worked like a champ. It brought you in. We can not only hear you, but see you. So a lot of people may not know your name because there's a lot of people that don't tune in until right before. And I will tell you, it is right before February 22nd. Is that correct? The election?
February 8th. Is the election.
February 8th, even sooner than I thought. So I misinformed somebody at 22, so they'll never make it. February 8th is the answer to her question. So you already have stood up against Mayor DavidHolt with his copycat proclamation to prohibit sale of food and beverages, and you won in court there against him and Stitt. Frank Urbanic up against Goliath of Oklahoma City. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me again.
You bet. We're going to do everything we can to get the word out about what you're doing, what you're up against. DavidHolt is he as consistent, it says, in his public opposition to Trumpism Trumpism was make America great again. So apparently David Holt is against making America great again. Tell us what you're going to do to fix the thing. I also want to know about the Mayor DavidHolt Oklahoma City court case.
Okay, so there's not really much to update on that case. We're just trying to resolve it, and
it's still waiting.
It's still a pending case. We're trying to get down to the bottom of why he did what he did.
All right, enough of that then. So tell us about Holt and what how you're moving to fix things there in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, well, Holt is basically a tax and spend liberal. He's never seen a tax raise he doesn't like. To put this in perspective, this infrastructure bill that was just passed, and every member of the Oklahoma delegation voted against it. Well, that night, David Holt's out there tweeting up a storm saying how it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Well, I guess he doesn't realize our country doesn't actually have the money for any of this stuff. It's going to cause inflation, but all he cares about is taking people's money so he can spend it. He was on the news this morning, local news channel, talking about how excited he was to get this money, which is our money.
Wouldn't we all be excited to get our money? If he can't sleep at night if he votes for Donald Trump, which he would never do, he says, but he can sleep at night taking your money. So no problem there. He has a daughter, he says, so, maybe he's going to pay her.
And he's a well-known never Trumper. I mean, there's just quote after quote, tweet after tweet.
Yeah, he goes on and on, but I got to say how, he tax and spend, etc. He is a buzzword expert. He is a cross-sectional. He is a swamp darling. He's young. He's vivacious. He's Native American. He says all the right things. He would never offend anyone or make fun of anyone or anything. He's so perfect. It's almost scary. From what I hear, he likes clean water and clean air also. That's what makes him special.
Well, who doesn't? But did you know that he was elected as student council president in the 6th grade and elected to various other offices while in school, and he was voted his senior year most likely to become president. So if that doesn't make you want to take a shower, I don't know what will.
Well, this is clearly he is an establishment guy. He's in and deep and entrenched, and clearly on the left side of the he's in the progressive camp with some of these quotes I'm going to read off about Trump. But I mean, so here is a guy, Frank Urbanic, who literally went out of his way to protect business owners, specifically bars and restaurants there in Oklahoma City. And the man with all the recognition and name recognition that will shut you down is really, he's steamrolling right now with the establishment role that he's got. He's got a huge amount of money, and it is literally a David and Goliath situation. Here you're up against he's an endorsed machine by the establishment. Let me just read you a couple of quotes here. This is all, Holt has been consistent in his public opposition to Trumpism. Remember how good it was when Trump was here. I will never support Donald Trump for any public office ever. Holt tweeted that Trump was crude, unprincipled autocrat. This man is a monster. He lacks the competence and human decency. He lacks gravitas. He's got no presidential material. He scares the out of me. I'm embarrassed to share a country with this man, much less a party. He's not competent to be president. He's wrong on the issues. He's not conservative. He lacks human decency. And maybe worst of all, he speaks like a dictator. A dictator, like a guy like Holt, that will shut you down for making a living. And said Holt was a conservative. I could go on and on. One of the things I think, and then I'll try to shut up, that betrays, I think, his attitude. Last year, he says, and especially the last few days, this is from August 2017, the New York Times, he said, the last year, and especially the last few days, have basically erased 15 years of effort by Republicans to diversify the party when the country's demographics are shifting away from where the Republican Party seems to be shifting. This guy has an old 18th century mentality of some sort of KKK in the Republican Party. The party that freed the slaves, by the way. So tell me, what do you think about all this anti-Trumpism? What kind of wagon is he trying to hitch up to there?
Well, for a professional politician, he sure has terrible political instinct, because we can see how well Trump did. And, Holt really seemed to have been confident in what he was saying, but none of what he said actually came true. And the sick irony in what you read was how he was talking about Trump was a dictator. Well, what did Holt do? He alone, by fiat, shut these businesses down unlawfully. It's not even that he had the authority to do that, which is bad enough, but the fact that he did it without the authority. Yeah, that's pot calling the kettle black, right?
Well, yeah, the connotative effect of him just being in office, feeling like he can do that. And apparently, even though he does have some sort of law degree and some sort of, apparently he doesn't know it as well as you do when you took him to court and won.
Well, I've been to the courthouse a lot. I'm a practicing attorney, and I've never seen him in court. I don't know if he's ever seen the inside of a courthouse, not to mention the inside of a courtroom. I have no idea what he does with that law degree other than tell people that he has a law degree.
Well, one place, and I tell my kids this: if you want to make $1 million in America, write a book. Holt is the author of Big League, where he writes about the NBA. So, I mean, see, he hobnobs with Oprah. Are you familiar with Punchbowl News? So Punchbowl News is an online political news daily in Washington, D.C., which debuted January 2021 as a membership-based news community. How's that? Like the Tulsa World. I call it the World. The Tulsa World is like a membership-based news community, right? Which focuses on individuals whose power the U.S. legislature. It intends to be nonpartisan and non-judgmental, focusing on scoops and facts, because those are two clearly different things, about Congress and Washington power established, particularly core power players. So the Punchbowl News called Holt, quote, a whip-smart technocratic Republican who seems out of step with the party's current mentality, as though that's a good thing. Punchbowl News. I mean, what do you think?
Well, but here's the thing is, he doesn't actually call himself a Republican. If you go to his website and you look at his about page, there's no mention of the word Republican, no mention of the word conservative. The only time he's being called a Republican is when the media or the Biden administration wants to call something bipartisan. So they trot him out as an excuse to do that. So he is actually the worst kind of Republican. And some people call him a rhino. I think that term is actually too generous, because a rhino is somebody that actually associates with the Republican Party. This guy in no way, shape, or form associates with the Republican Party.
Well, yeah, except for him having that R allows the media to spin it. He came to the protection of the media when Trump began calling the media. Hey, you're listening to TomEMcCay, the Verbal Viking, here with Frank Urbanic up against the Goliath in Oklahoma City, running for mayor. Run out. Tell him, Frank, where to reach you, find you, and help you.
Yeah, you go to my website, frankurbanic.com, Urbanic. You can also go to Facebook. We post our events on there, so please come out to our many events. We do a lot of things at various restaurants and places where we can hang out and have a good time. But yeah, Facebook, Frank Urbanic.
Excellent. And remember, the thing that is important right now for the Republic is the message has got to become more important than the money. They've got all the money. Hell, they print the money. And so the message has to overcome the money. And here is Frank Urbanic putting his message where his mouth is, along with his money also. I was saying right at the soft break, when Trump began calling the media the enemy of the people, Holt tweeted in June of 2018, "For centuries," says Holt, "news providers have played a critical role in our democratic experiment." Well, first of all, Mr. Holt, it's a republic, not a Democrat. And I'll give you, it's a democratic republic. But I love how he leaves the republic part out. But for centuries, news providers, you mean for like two, you know? he makes it sound
Technically,
like
I guess he's right.
like two, you know. I guess technically he made it just barely inside of centuries. But yeah. So November 2018, Democrats won Oklahoma City's congressional seat. Holt told the New York Times that traditional Republican voters who wants to, here's he is identifying once as the Republican, that traditional Republican voters who once supported the party because of desire for free market, low taxes, and limited government were now forced to also accept, I'm adding Trump, misogyny, racism, and cruelty. I have not seen one iota of racism or cruelty, and technically not even misogyny out of the Trump. So this guy is pressing all the little buzzwords is all he's doing there.
Well, and then he's talking about, oh, you know, low taxes, like he supports low taxes. This guy was on TV commercials promoting MAPS 4, which is an extension of a tax increase.
Okay, tell us, listen, I want to hear about the MAPS 4 thing, because I battled in 2016 the Vision 2025 thing, where our current mayor, G.T. Bynum, and his uncle, the previous mayor, were promising all great things with all our money. Okay, so the MAPS thing was based on Models Cities program, which is an element of the U.S. President Lyndon Baines Johnson Great Society, War on Poverty. So everything Holt is doing with MAPS is based on the Model Cities program, which is a Democrat Lyndon Baines Johnson thing. Go ahead. What is MAPS, and why do I hate it?
Well, so we've had 4 of these by now, and the first ones, I think everybody can agree, were pretty good. That brought us Bricktown and all the economic development.
Okay.
But as the years went on, they went off track, and really starting with the streetcar in MAPS 3. We're on MAPS 4 now, and basically about 20,000 people committed the rest of Oklahoma City to $1 billion in spending. And so it's things like park upgrades and animal shelter for $38 million. And I'm going, but we couldn't get one for $20 million? That seems quite expensive. But basically what they did with MAPS 4 is they took a lot of these little programs that are very narrowly focused and have a group of people that wants it, and strung them all together so they can say, okay, we got this group, this group, this group. We have enough people, it's going to pass. And of course, the mayor was on TV promoting it and saying how we all needed to vote for it. Well, had I been the mayor, I would not have promoted this. So, you know, the chances of it passing, I think, would have been significantly less if you didn't have a mayor promoting what is the continuation of a tax increase.
And then on top of that, claiming he's for lower taxes. It's like it seems as though there's a rash of these people who do not technically associate as a Republican because they don't do anything or say anything that's Republican in nature. And then like Hoffmeister, suddenly after years, they go, you know what? I don't want to be what I used to be. I've realized now I was a governor born inside of a school superintendent's body, you know, and poof, all of a sudden there she goes.
Right. I mean, the positions he's taken and the things he's done, any number of things, just one of them would be a disqualifier. So for instance, he has supported ending constitutional carry. He's marched with BLM and Antifa against our police. And again, he supported the Biden administration, and just any of these things, one would think, MAPS, that would be it. No Republican could get elected, but he clearly feels that that he's invincible.
So this really, now I'm getting, back. I've said this on other shows philosophically that the public is clearly doesn't know. How could they not know? They don't know these things. They step into the booth the day before. They've looked at names. They recognize his name and they say, "Oh yeah," and they just check it. I mean, I don't know how to fix this. How do we get your information out there about what Holt has been doing and how you're going to fix it?
Well, so something that could help me is anytime I make a post on Facebook to share that, because I'm constantly calling out what he's done and drawing attention to these things and contrasting me and what I would do and what I have done. And things such as parental rights. Where does he stand? I don't think we even know where he stands on parental rights. Me, last year, my wife and I were very active in the Edmond public schools, going to school board meetings, protesting. We were interviewed by the media, going to rallies to open the schools every day. So I have been there in the trenches advocating for conservative principles. This is not something that's new to me.
Parents in the schools are rising up like never as I've ever seen it. They are headed to the school board meetings, and you can see it all over social media. So this is a great suggestion, and I think this is a good suggestion for all good voices. Instead of running to new platforms, and not like you shouldn't be on the new platforms, be there, but don't just abdicate your responsibility to say the right thing on Twitter and Facebook. Find people that are saying the right things that you agree with and retweet. Like and retweet. The same thing with Frank Urbanic. Get out there, like and retweet. That's one of the ways that we can promote the right message. Also, it is cash-oriented society to buy ads, etc. The election is February 8th. And so there's very little time for the candidate to get his any advertising out there, especially, print, and you're going to have it printed plus distributed. So, I mean, there's almost no time.
Exactly. And also remember, February 3rd and 4th is early voting. And then you also have mail-in voting, which is like a month before that. So, which we are encouraging our people, at least, to do mail-in voting if you feel comfortable with it. But at the very least, early voting, because I would hate to have an ice storm hit like on Sunday or Monday, and then we have inches of ice on the road because we all know what the weather's like.
Well, right, and then it cancels out, and this is important enough to pre-plan for and make sure that you can vote. So, tell us more about Holt marching with Black Lives. It seems like he's placing symbolism over substance, and I know you also have a wall of shame. And if you're able to share that, we'll do it at the on the other side of the break. I've got a commercial.
I don't have it.
You don't have it? I'll see if I can
find.
I'll see if I can find it. But otherwise, they can go find it. Where can they find the Holt's Wall of Shame? Where do they find it?
You got to come to one of my events. You can see it in person.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, there you go.
But basically what I've done is I've taken pictures and news articles of the outrageous things that he's done. It had, and of course, part of this is to show what he's done, but it's also to validate what I've been saying about him, because it's one thing to say, oh, hey, he marched with BLM and took a knee with them in front of the police. It's another thing when you have the screenshot of him doing that, and underneath it says Mayor Holt kneels.
So one of the things that forgive me, but I mean, you're an underdog in this fight. That's just a reality here. It's a Frank Urbanic versus Goliath. And so my attitude about being the underdog, and it's, look, God picks the winners, and we throw the punches. And so God bless you for throwing the punches, Frank Urbanic. During the primary for the underdog, the main thing I believe is to get an ideal, a principle, or a concept into the public domain of discussion. So if you had to make sure that one punch landed that forced Holt to discuss at least the issue that you disagree with him, what would it be? Would it be the car? Do people like those trolley cars? Is there anybody that likes the trolley car?
Very few. So it's been about at least a month since I was here last. I've had a lot of time to talk to a lot of people, done some door knocking, and of course campaign events, and hardly anybody likes. I mean, maybe 1% of the people think we should do it. And the reaction that I get from people when I door knock, I say, "Are you familiar with the streetcar?" And they kind of start laughing because they all know it's a complete joke.
Okay, it's turned into a let's go.
But we need to audit these MAPS programs and figure out what is where the money's going and how we're getting it and what we can do better and what we're losing money on. Because if we're losing money on something that is not bringing us economic activity to somehow make up for it, then we need to divest ourselves of that.
Yeah, I mean, and for me, I have a general dislike of anything that promotes co-ownership by the citizens. That's where it's controlled by the government. I mean, that was one of the problems with the Vision 2025 routine, is that we're paying for the zoo, Gilcrease Museum, the PAC, the BOK, but I don't get free tickets to any of that stuff. But Brown County residents in Wisconsin, the Green Bay Packers have a stadium in Brown County, and they get season tickets for their co-op. So the fact that we don't get tickets as citizens, that we co-own the zoo, Gilcrease Museum, etc., but it's government controlled. So publicly owned, government controlled, privately owned. Really, these entities are privately owned, but government controlled. That is the definition of fascism. Mm. So how are you? I was impressed with the way that Oklahoma City was able to improve, like you said, with bricks. And you're telling me that was the MAPS. That was the MAPS. The MAPS wasn't all bad, is what you're saying.
Right. So what happened? It's the halo effect. Is that MAPS 1 was so great that from then on, everybody kind of associated the benefit from that with every subsequent MAPS program, to where, if you have the wrong person in office, you can keep doing all of these MAPS programs, regardless of what's in them or how silly the ideas are. You got to wonder who sat down in a room and said, hey, we need to have this streetcar that, of course, we can't change the route at all. It's going to go one way, and it's going to take like 45 to 50 minutes to do that. I mean, who comes up with this stuff?
Well, and we in GT Bynum promoted the Aero, AERO line, where it's basically a fancy bus stop, with a nice little LED sign. And, I don't know who he knows that's in the business of, building little fancy bus stops with LED signs. But, nepotism works its way into all these deals. There's no such, even in the wage gap discussion, it's never how much you're making. It's who you know that gets you the job. You pick where you're going to work because of who you're going to work with primarily, not how much. And so these projects, nepotism creeps in, and we know that anytime government spends money, we get the efficacy drops into a hole, and it's just a money pit.
Right, and this is why I don't have the support from the tall buildings crowd. Because we're going to get to the bottom of this and end any of the cronyism that's been going on.
Hey, you're listening to Frank Urbanic, Air Force Major, Oklahoma lawyer. He's candidate for Oklahoma City Mayor, running against Goliath in Oklahoma City. I'm going to send you away, and we're going to play the game again at the bottom of the hour. You guys stick around. We're going to hear more from Frank Urbanic. First, we do this, and we stop your video, and then we beam him back down to the planet's surface to give him a chance to break. And we're going to try to roll this commercial here where Frank is going to be speaking December 10th at the Redneck Yacht Club, Oklahoma City, along with some other fine speakers for the GOP. So stay tuned and see if I can make this share occur appropriately. And of course, the ghost in the machine. Hold tight, please. Technical difficulties, of course. So. Almost. We've almost got it working here. And now we will see if this works. Commercial now.
We grassroots have a great opportunity to take this party back and be who we truly say we are. Let's unite as grassroots conservatives and let's get this done. If we fight, we will win.
We were not in violation of the governor's order.
That was from our story last night at 10. The executive order issued last month says businesses cannot serve food or alcohol past 11 p.m.
We have a newly revamped website and a very active email and social media campaign. We have implemented a phone bank program to call all of the county chairs to see what their needs are and how we can help them. Since elected, I have visited and spoken at 41 different county or Republican organizations, including all the way out in the Panhandle. Our SOP committee will be rolling out an operating guide for county chairs and precinct chairs very soon. We assembled an outreach committee to grow and diversify our base with younger voters of all walks of life. In response to overwhelming demand for action, we started an election integrity committee, which is chaired by Representative Sean Roberts. We started an education committee chaired by Linda Murphy to address the many education issues that we're facing today. We have a digital committee working on a unified digital structure and communications with not only party officials, but also the general public. We have a fully staffed headquarters, including a volunteer coordinator, and the GOP headquarters has become a buzz for legislators. We've had forums, and we get frequent visitors from the public. We partner with grassroots groups from all over the state, and we are coordinating our efforts to fight for liberty and we, the people. And our merchandise store is officially up and filled with patriotic gear, which serves to brand our party and raise money at the same time. We're having a real grassroots fundraiser coming up, so I need you to go to buy some tickets so you can come out and fellowship with other patriots in Oklahoma City on December the 10th. Go to our website, go to our Facebook page, and find this link. And Patriots, if you truly want to get our republic back, it's going to take some sacrifice. And we must be willing to stand and fight for it. Because if we don't stand and fight for our freedoms today, we won't have any freedoms to fight for tomorrow. We've got to fight for our republic harder than the third monkey trying to get on the ark, and it's starting to rain, baby. So God bless you, and God bless the great state of Oklahoma.
kitties. The American Constitutional Republic. Affairs of state in Oklahoma. The beliefs, principles, opinions, and views of people just like me. All right, we're going to see if we can reach Frank Urbanic. Can we hear you, Frank?
Can you hear me?
We can hear him now. That's right. We hear him. Let's see if we can beam him in at this point. Ask him to start his video. Here he comes. Holy mackerel, just like a champ, just like always. And let me see if I can bring myself back in. TomEMcCay, the Verbal Viking, running all the plates and spinning everything as best I can. So here we are again with Frank Urbanic at the, oh my gosh, that thing, we're still beaming people in. Scotty, I need less power. All right, and so Frank Urbanic running against the Goliath of OKC. He is the swamp baby, a bubble guppy of the left. There he is, progressive, checking all the marks and clicking all the boxes and saying all the buzzwords, Goliath of OKC. Frank, we know that the real power in municipal government, they'll tell you you've never been there before, you don't know what you're doing. Neither do these guys know what they're doing. The power is an appointment of trusts and authorities and chairmanships. And tell us, what are you gonna do? What can you promise us? Something has happened with my live. Something has happened with my live stream. It's been interrupted somehow. Says I'm still live on Facebook, but something is frozen up. Let's see here. All right, it says I'm still live. We'll go on because I know I'm recording, but, there's always a ghost in the machine. Tell me about there's always a task force can be started at any time if you're mayor. This is what they really fear, is who and what you may focus attention on for the public. What have you got in store? What can you promise your constituents, a task force that you'll start? And what can you threaten your opponent of a chairmanship that you'll change?
Yeah, so as far as task forces, we need to go after the spending on these MAPS programs and get to the bottom of how these contracts are being made and who's getting them, because I have a feeling that there may be some things going on that a lot of people would not be pleased with. So we need to get to the bottom of that. Why are things costing so much? Again, we have this animal shelter supposedly is going to cost $38 million. Is it, can't get a $20 million one?
So again, I wanted to bring this up when you mentioned it in the first half hour. So this guy's big claim to fame on task force was something about homeless, right?
So yeah, homeless, and we also have one on police use of force. So
if you have 20, how many ever million, and your big deal is homeless, it's not like you got a surplus of money, right? Why are you spending that money on animals instead of people?
Well, yeah, exactly. But with regards to the homeless issue, I actually went out last week and talked to some homeless individuals. And one of them he came up to me and said, can you get me a job? I was like, no, I'm not here to help people get jobs, but tell me more about this. He's like, well, I want a job. And I go, well, hasn't anybody come out here and tried to help you get a job? And he said, no, they just come out here and ask and like give us food and things like that. So from what I've seen, these organizations are not actually trying to get people out of the homeless situation. They're trying to keep them homeless. And that's part of MAPS 4 as well, is so much money's being put into these homeless programs that we need to see, where is this money actually going? Is it going to help the people that run these organizations? It's certainly not going to help these people find a job.
Well, I mean, what is if you are standing on the corner, I don't know where you found this homeless person, but I'm saying there are some people who stand and beg for money. And if that's the kind of guy who says he's looking for, you don't look for a job by standing there waiting for it to come to you. They're hiring everywhere. Even my wife is like, why don't you get a job, Tom? You know? But I'm just saying, I mean, everybody's hiring. The idea that nobody offered me one, they have signs posted. It's not like Jason Collington from the Tulsa World who advertises for news but then rejects your press release. Nothing personal.
And I completely understand that, but I think his point was that these people are coming out and checking on them, but they're not even asking what they can do to get them off the streets into a...
The presumption. Okay, the presumption is, oh, here's food. You're hungry. You know, so
right.
Let me ask you this. The reason I do a podcast instead of really be mayor, if you were mayor, tell me how crazy this is. If I was mayor, and because I don't like the panhandling situation, I don't think it's the right thing. In fact, the people who help the homeless say, don't give them money. Tell them to come down here. It's not safe to stand. So I would say, look, if you're going to panhandle, you have to have a license. And so you got to fill out the license. You're going to have to pay taxes. Okay, so you own what corner do you stand on? We have to identify, because the taxpayers build the corner that the panhandle stands on. And he's going to have to pay his fair share. You don't just get to stand there and beg for money. Oh, Tom, you're so heartless. These people need. If they need, then they can go places to get. There's John 3:16, etc. So there's 10 or 12 places that will feed and clothe you and house you. Okay, and they'll take you in. But if you prefer to live on the street, which I can totally understand that. If I was homeless, I might prefer to be under the bridge than to have to live through the rigors of the daycare for the homeless. But what I'm saying is we can't just litter our streets with people who beg. Is that insane? As a mayor, can you even do that? That make people licensed to panhandle? Is that even legal?
Well, so that is something that we discussed while we were out there, but I guess they were under the impression that you did have to have a license for that. I have not actually researched that to see if that was accurate. But I mean, you can imagine even if we did have one, nobody's paying that, right?
Well, nobody's enforcing it. Hell, you got to have a license to cut hair. Chances are you got to have a license, but nobody's enforcing. Arbitrary enforcement equals lawlessness. Okay, so we live in a lawless society. We're living in the Constitution by de facto. Nobody's actually running it. We're just living in the momentum off the Constitution. That's why Holt is able to run roughshod over the citizens who own bars and restaurants until you came along to say, hey, whoa, you can't just shut people down. Tell us how so if you're going to hang one thing in the public debate, what's the most important thing Holt needs to change?
Holt needs to change, or that I would change?
You would change anything. I just don't know how we're going to fix this.
Well, so what Holt used to shut these businesses down was something called the Riot Control and Prevention Act. And so one of the first things that I do is going to be to amend that, because it lists the various things that a mayor can do, such as preventing people from being a certain location at a certain time, no Molotov cocktails. But then the last one is a catch-all that says something like the mayor can do whatever he wants if it protects the health and safety of the people. So basically it's, whatever he wants.
Kind of,
we need to take that out of there. There's other restrictions on firearms, take that out of there. And then what he did in declaring an emergency is he used the disaster reason to declare this emergency. Well, the disaster is not actually defined in the Riot Control and Prevention Act for Oklahoma City. So we need to define that. And city council needs to be given the authority to terminate an emergency declaration. It shouldn't be the mayor gets to issue one and only the mayor can terminate it.
Okay, so there's 3 wonderful promises to the constituents that can vote for Frank Urbanic and find him Frank Urbanic online and on Facebook, but you want to amend the Riot Act and fix that whole thing where the governor can just do anything he wants. There's a firearm aspect that you want to fix. And then also I dropped my pencil. There's another thing that you were going to fix there.
The spending, streetcars, going to audit them.
It was just after the firearms, it had to do with defining issues in the Constitution.
Oh, defining the definition of disaster?
That's right. Defining disaster is where I dropped my pencil. That's correct. So there are 4 concrete things that Frank Urbanic can bring to press Goliath, and that is because I don't believe that Holt is going to change these things about the Riot Act or give a darn about any of that stuff. And so this again, this fight between Frank Urbanic and the Goliath of Oklahoma City is really a fight against, it's like the everyman, you would call him, versus your celebrity elite. This guy lists Oprah, Stephen Colbert. He's like the bubble guppy of the left, literally floating around, writing books about the NBA. And I mean, he does everything you would be if you were queen for a day, but I don't know how the street lights are there in Oklahoma City. How are they holding up?
Well, perfect example. So we have Bricktown, right? And so I talked to some of the wonderful business owners down at Bricktown, and they go, hey, check this out. We pay a tax that is only the business owners at Bricktown. That's supposed to go to Bricktown, right? Well, he said, go walk around and you'll see all the lights that are out. So one night I walked around, I took pictures. There were dozens of lights that were out. So what is that money going to? It's clearly not going to fix the lights in Bricktown. And there was a bunch of graffiti on a wall. And the owners and people that work in Bricktown, they actually went to go clean the graffiti off. It wasn't even the city. So if that tax isn't going to Bricktown, we need to get rid of that tax so they can save that money.
Yeah, because the money's being ill spent by government, as it very nearly always is. And the business owners wind up cleaning up their own building anyway. If you ask the cops if they will catch a graffiti artist, they'll say, no, we need a curfew law to do that. Oh, my gosh. So what else can you bring us? There's 4 things we've got that you can definitely amend and fix these issues that leave opportunity and encourage government overreach. That is the Riot Act, firearms, and the definitions found there.
Yeah, so part of my platform is what I call opening back up Oklahoma City government. So if you go to the police station or the city hall, you can't get in. If you go to the administrative building, you can only get into one floor of it. And so in order to get a police report, you have to go through this whole convoluted thing that takes weeks, if not months, to get a police report, whereas before COVID, used to take a matter of minutes. So people cannot access these buildings. I have contractors telling me, hey, I used to be able to walk in with my plans, show them to the person. They would say, hey, this is what you need to fix. I go back and fix it. Well, now they send something, they have to email it, and then they reply, and it's stretching things out considerably. And time is money with these people. So our great businesses are losing a lot of money because Holt has shut down these buildings. And on the police station and city hall, it says closed for renovations. And I'm going, really? Both of them at the same time? Is anybody buying this? I'm not.
Oh my
Open them up.
gosh, yeah. Well, and even if they, God, yeah, because if they are, that's inefficient. So you're listening to the brilliant analysis of municipal governance in Oklahoma City from Frank Urbanic up against the monster, Goliath of Oklahoma City, the anti-Trump, who I guess Holt wants higher gas prices and higher unemployment for African Americans. There's something wrong with Holt, but he is the darling of the left. I call him the bubble guppy of the progressive left. Frank Urbanic is going to fix all that if we can just get him elected. Tell us again where to find you. We got about 15 minutes left. Tell us where to find you once again, how to give to your campaign.
Yeah, FrankUrbanic.com is the best way to reach out to us and to donate and to volunteer. But I can't stress enough how important donations are, because it doesn't matter how many volunteers we have, which we have a lot. If we don't have the money to buy the things to get in their hands, then the volunteers aren't much use. And this is a grassroots campaign. So 100% of the money that you donate is going to go to campaign materials and marketing and things like that, not paid consultants. So please, any amount helps. Obviously, the more the better, because Oklahoma City is a big city and we want to be able to get our message out many different ways.
Hey, the key to success in any business and a campaign is a business adventure. Is word of mouth. You can spend $1 billion in advertising, but word of mouth is the key. Public opinion is the key. So if you like Frank Urbanic and what he's talking about, if you dislike having government overreach and shut down bars and businesses and restaurants that feed children, then you need to tell people about Frank Urbanic. Get the word out about Frank Urbanic. Share the things you see that Frank Urbanic is talking about, because really there's very little time. February 8th, correct?
Yes, and 3rd and 4th, just 2 days of early voting.
Okay, so February 8th is where people are going to be hitting the polls. And between now and then, Frank Urbanic has got about enough time to put as much momentum as he can into one stone, one smooth stone, into one fine slingshot, and swing that puppy on February 8th. So, I mean, you're up against a huge monster of a leftist progressive bubble guppy, which is the nicest way I can say it. So 10 minutes left, Frank. Tell us what we can do. I want to hear about task force. What are the first 3 task force you're going to look into? Of course, task force for communication efficacy, and I'll lead that one. But then what are the other 2 task force that you task force, baby?
Well, I mean, I'm not quite sure what task forces I'm going to create, because we have a lot going on right now. And I mean, if you look at these boards and commissions that Oklahoma City has, we have a lot. And I mean, my priorities are safety and security, saving taxpayer money, and keeping businesses open. And a lot of what I'm doing is about a shift in mindset, is having somebody in there who has a liberty instinct, not an instinct to grow the size of government or use and then abuse their power. But as far as like something specific that I would form to go after something, like I said, it would be what we're doing with these MAPS programs, who's getting the money, how these deals are being made, and why we're spending, or at least projected to spend, so much money on them, because the taxpayers deserve to know how their money is being spent. And with MAPS, we're actually under no obligation to continue funding these things. So, for example, the streetcar, it's there, but all we have to do is just write it out of the budget. And that's
my guess is that most people don't know that. I'm just guessing. Most people think, oh, they bought it, there it is, got trolley, might as well use it. I mean, people don't realize, we can get out of this bad deal. Yeah, that's fantastic. So I mean, so again, because I'm so hung up on task force, you can change authorities too. There are chairmans and people who run authorities and trusts, and you can change that too. And that's what they fear. That's what I found out. They don't care if you got any experience at all. What they fear is you'll get your people in. You'll appoint the people you like to the chairmen of trusts, and you'll appoint the authorities that are the people in charge of authorities. So when it comes to a task force, one of them you're going to create. I'm just trying to make it happen. One of them he promised me, Mommy. A task force I want is one that you just said. You're going to a task force to look into the efficacy of expenditures in the MAPS program. Somebody's going to have to look into what are we getting for our money, even though we know what they said when they started MAPS 1, 2, 3, and it's always like a virus that it's always got the variant, okay, like MAPS variant 4, and here it comes. Okay, so that's your first task force. The other task force we've got to look into is this trolley. Does anybody want a trolley? We've got to get rid of the trolley.
No, well, here's the deal. We don't need a task force for that. We're just going to get rid of it.
Fine, we'll just get rid of it. Okay. So
that's very simple.
That was very easy. And then, of course, I want to be in charge of any task force I can be in charge of. But we've got to get the word out there, FrankUrbanic.com. Again, people don't understand the success probably don't even know of your name yet, that you've already had success defeating not only Governor Stitt, but Holt in his copycat prohibition. Okay, so you know the law. What you're lacking here that Holt has as a bubble guppy of the left is name recognition. Okay?
Right. And don't forget, there's the first lawsuit, which was against the city of Guthrie. They had First Amendment violations off the charts. They said that spiritual gatherings of 10 or more people was prohibited for their lockdown ordinance. And 4 days after we filed that lawsuit, they rescinded that ordinance. So we were able to remove the threat of arrest from people who just wanted to go to church. So yeah, it's even more than just the cases for the bars and restaurants, but we had a good First Amendment case there as well.
Right, and people don't realize that the government doesn't run all this stuff. And every man who lives in your neighborhood who just happens to read and understand the law and is willing to go put forth effort to fight for your rights to keep your bar or restaurant open, push forth all this stuff. So we've got to get every man out there to help people like you. We have the opportunity in America to govern ourselves and to consent to be governed or in the way that we are. And so this is, yes, sir.
No, well, people are always asking, they'll call into, a radio show. What can we do? Well, we don't do anything. What can you do? And I'm telling you, if you help out my campaign, there's plenty that you can do. We got signs that need to be put up and delivered and doors that need to be knocked. So there's all sorts of things and that go into a campaign that we can find something for anybody, no matter how big or small they want to be involved.
Right. And what I've also learned from talking to other candidates is like, because most people think, well, I mean, all I could give is $5. And it's like, yes, please. I mean, literally like 20 people, $5, and all of a sudden, here you go. So even tiny donations, yeah, it all adds up. So in closing, we got just a few minutes to go. What else do you want to tell them before you get out of here? I'm begging for task force, but again, because you do, there is a serious, the mayor is the rudder of the direction of the city. And so it doesn't happen overnight, but there's a lot of momentum. And like you said, you guys are living in Oklahoma City with this, apparently a trolley that nobody's loving. There's a ghost in the machine. I believe my Facebook Live thing is being killed right now, but I am recording onto the cloud, so we'll fix it in post if we have to. But Frank Urbanic here up against Goliath of OKC for the mayor's race there February 8th, and early voting just before that. I don't know what else to tell them. FrankUrbanic.com. Give everything you can. If you need a contact Frank for signs and promote Frank as best you can. Follow him. Have you got a Twitter presence?
I don't. Just Facebook.
That's trouble. That's trouble right now. Twitter is everything I ever wanted. My kids said, Dad, you're going to love Twitter. It's 140 characters of nothing but vile retort and insult. I'm like, perfect. That's probably why
we're a very lean campaign, which is how we will run. Run this government efficient and lean.
Nice, because Twitter is for a guy like me, just wasting time with morons all day long. And so when I get here, I can talk about it. Frank Urbanic, we thank you for coming out. You also have an event. What are you going to be talking about coming up on December 10th? Boots and Bling event, 6 to 8 p.m. They're supposed to go to OKGOP for tickets. Redneck Yacht Club, Oklahoma City. What are you going to be talking about?
Well, I'm going to be talking about the campaign and how things are going so well. We just have so much enthusiasm. You talk to people that support Holt, and they'll say, oh, I support him, I'll vote for him. But then you talk to people who don't, and they just say, I can't stand this guy. Oh, you got to get him out. Just the passion and the enthusiasm is on our side. And so we'll be promoting that and promoting liberty, because this is a campaign of liberty. And this is, I've had somebody ask me, how do we get the communities that the Republican Party has not had traditionally? I said, well, you talk about liberty. You look at what we did with those lawsuits, because that was an effort in liberty. Liberty doesn't know skin color, gender, right, political, any of that stuff, because we were able to help all of those people, regardless of any of those categories, and it applied to everybody equally. So I think if we can get that message across, people that may not traditionally have been on our side are going to come over and support us.
Excellent. I truly love what you're doing. I appreciate your fight for liberty. It's not easy what you're doing. We live in a great country, regardless of the outcome, that guys like you and me can get out there and fight. I feel like you're going to do a lot better than I did. You're more prepared and more versed well for the job. So, Frank Urbanic, we're going to beam you back down to the planet service, but I appreciate you being here. And hey, let's have you back again at least one more time before it all happens. So remember, I'm going to be pressing you for task forces and find out which one I'm on. Frank Urbanic, thank you very much. Catch him and donate. FrankUrbanic.com. There he goes. Oh, there he goes all the way back down to the surface, planet surface. Scotty, I've got to have less power. I just know for a fact something went wrong. There's a ghost in the machine out there, and Facebook Live has died somewhere along the way. I don't know what happened, but we do appreciate Frank Urbanic for being here this evening. Go out and find him on Facebook and his website, FrankUrbanic.com. Donate, get a sign, and let's get that man elected, or at least get some of his talking points into the face of the incumbent Goliath Holt. So let's see if we can work ourselves out of here. That's about all the time we have for 3D Politics this week. Don't forget, next week, Dr. Mark Sherwood, gubernatorial candidate, will be here to tell us about his run for governor. We'll see you guys next week. TomEMcCay, the Verbal Viking, perspicuitous plunder of conversation. We'll see you guys next week.